What's up, you guys? Welcome back. It's great to be back with you. Wanted to talk about the seventh dimension a little bit, do some explanations on the seventh dimension because it's the one I haven't really talked too much about it. There's many things that people ask questions about, but let's dive into it. So, first, kind of just my thinking on things, for let's say this is all my hypothesis, and I'm just one scientist, so I don't even really matter in the grand scheme of things. It's not like I'm the one making the rules. I'm just telling you what I'm thinking. Dimensions in general, I think they're more of phase changes on power itself. So it's like, and they're like a spectrum. But the topology of dimensions, and what is topology? It's like the geography kind of, or the shapes. The way it's laid out. The I think that I don't know what that's based on, but to start there, I the way I look at things, and my hypothesis that I'm developing starts with the zero dimension, right, and then you got the power dimension. But it starts with the power dimension actually. But you can. I was trying to say you could start in the zero dimension, then you got the power dimension on this side, the rest of the dimensions, but that doesn't make sense. It starts with the power dimension, then you got the zero dimension, and then you got 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up into infinity. Infinity, so much so that I actually think that new dimensions are being created all the time by the power dimension as it just continues to pour power into this world. Anyway, that's just mostly an idea. But I also think the power dimension is responsible for what we call antimatter, right? But again, these are just ideas, and the strong force. And then the zero dimension, weak force. But let's talk about the seventh dimension. And again, all of this is hypothesis, which means it's all guaranteed to be wrong. But this is what I'm basing my work off of. And hopefully it's more accurate in some ways than some stuff. At least in the context of my work, at the very least, hopefully. So the seventh dimension and why, what I relate it to. So to start it off with a couple things, I based the seventh dimension, I found correlations of the seventh dimension to fission, nuclear fission, which is what we use in nuclear power plants, and the cores of planets. Now, those are just two emergences. I say my hypothesis a lot because I want to be sure that no one thinks that I'm telling you how things work. This is just like, hey, if you want to think along with me. Now, I had said the topology of the universe. So I think the power dimension, and this is just for background, I'm not really sure about this, but I think it might be separated into four main aspects. Or the topology of it might be fourfold. And so what that results in is the reason why we apprehend the world primarily as three-dimensionally, but also with the dimension of time. Because there are those three dimensions, those four dimensions make up the general shape of even the power dimension. And then as you go up past four dimensions, fifth dimension, sixth dimension, seventh dimension, eighth dimension, what I'm thinking might be happening is why those don't look like external large dimensions, that we can perceive through any test, maybe because that topology is so hardwired into it that when our brain takes resolution of it, it's all nested like a fractal. And so all you would ever perceive is four dimensions, no matter what scale you were looking at, whether you were looking at, dimensions 5, 6, 7, 8, or you were looking at 9, 10, 11, 12, or 1, 2, 3, 4. They would all kind of look the same. Now, 7 obviously would be analogous to the third dimension, but in the next set. And so part of why I say fission might be related to the seventh dimension is that it's delivering you the rest energy of the third dimension. in a certain kind of way, right? Because you have the mass, which is what we're calculating. I'd love to look into other aspects of it. But you have the mass of an atom, right? You split that atom, and what you had is energy that was still moving around, lots of energy moving around. But when you split it, you almost get a similar effect as if you had combined matter with antimatter, in that when you split that atom into two different pieces, now those two pieces are smaller, but you've released some of that mass as energy. And so that's kind of one way of why I'm looking at the seventh dimension as related to fission. And then centralization, I also believe, is a feature of fission. And some ideas that I had worked out so far is that what actually happens is, first you have a system, which I believe is related to quantum, sixth dimension. And systems arrive after gravity, which I believe is the fifth dimension. So you build up enough gravity. Well, gravity allows us for matter to clump, thereby allowing for you to have molecules, all sorts of compounds. And then I think that arises in the necessity for what we call quantum, but on a larger scale. And again, all my theories are always, me piecing some stuff together. On a larger scale, it starts to allow for, let me just skip, certain systems to build. I don't want to use too much of your time to just start coming up with ideas. And those systems persist until, centralization becomes inevitable for various efficiencies. Because you have lots of different components are being centralized. It's still a system, but it becomes centralization. And so that's where, so to combine those two ideas, and I'll leave it there, when you have a buildup of centralization and where we start bursting towards where I think is the realm of fusion, which is why fusion is such an interesting topic as well. But anyway, when you get to that burst point, I think there's a special quantity of energy at the rupture. And it might have some sort of special correlations to the third dimension as well, but it's that rupture energy, that fission energy. Rupture, when we're talking about a core, which is why I have the core in those videos, that can become the balance point, I think, for a stable external three-dimensionality, which I believe is kind of the core of hover. I'm going to leave it there because I could go on forever. But shout out to the hoverheads. Thank you so much. Hopefully that gave a little bit more clarity on the hoverboard, as in to say that it's that energy that we're using to stabilize. We're looking for a third dimension, but we're in the second set. Let me stop there. Hoverheads, shout out to you guys. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much for watching everything. Thanks for all the follows on all the platforms. Entered 2026 with almost 50K. Share it with all your friends. Like, share, continue to just be great hoverheads, invested. Actually, don't even worry about me, but record your own inventions. I'd love to see them. Let's make it a movement that way, a movement of doers. I'll see you later. Peace out, hoverheads.